Growing up, I loved it when games let you play as the bad guy. Some of my most memorable experiences as a kid playing video games was when games let me play as the villains. For example, in the original Plants vs. Zombies, you could play as the zombies, both in a 1 versus 1 mode where one player controls the plants and the other player controls the zombies, which was tons of fun to both play and watch. And there was also several little arcade mini games where they let you play as the zombies as well. It was just so much fun to me as a kid. Some of my favorite missions that I've ever played in any game period are the villain missions in the original Lego Batman game. I mean, in these levels, you were just straight up committing crimes. Like, the very first mission was the Riddler and Clayface robbing a bank, and it was awesome. And then I'm out here playing Joker and Killer Moth, just gunning fools down. It was such a change of pace from the rest of the game and the rest of the missions, and I let the devs get so creative with the structure of the missions as well. It was such an enjoyable experience. And then who can forget one of my favorite Mario games of all time, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which let you play as Bowser for half of, if not more, of the main story. And it was such a nice change of pace being able to play as the villain for once. There was these boss battles where Bowser would become humongous, and then there would be these epic behemoths that he would fight while Mario and Luigi are inside trying to fight some more smaller creatures. It was just so much fun playing that game. But I never really played a game that lets you just play as a monster. I'm talking kaiju, evil ass, big ass monster just destroying everything in its path. Until in the year 2014, I saw this trailer.
Peggy 18.
It's here.
Little did I know that this one little 1-minute ad was gonna lead me to purchase one of my favorite games of all time. Just in case some of you guys don't know what Evolve was or never played it, let me just quickly explain how the game works to you. Basically, Evolve is a 4 versus 1 asymmetrical game where one player is playing as the monster character and the other 4 players are playing as hunters attempting to hunt down, track, and kill the monster player. The hunters are broken up into 4 different classes. I don't know why I held up 8 fingers. Let's try that again. The hunters are broken up into 4 different classes: the assault, medic, the support, and the trapper. Assault is the main damage dealer and tank of the team. Medic is the healer, obviously. Support provides buffs to his teammates and debuffs to the monster, and has other little tools that can assist the team. And the trapper class, his entire job is to trap the monster and basically make it easier for the team to track it down. Each hunter comes with 3 unique gadgets/weapons and 1 class unique ability. And on the other side, at launch, you had 3 monster characters: Goliath, the Kraken, and the Wraith. with 2 DLC monsters, the Behemoth and the Gorgon, coming post-launch. There were also 3 variant monsters that came down a little later in the path as well, that were Meteor Goliath, Elder Kraken, and Glacial Behemoth. Each monster came with 4 unique abilities, as well as slightly different auto/basic attack patterns, and slightly different ways of navigating the map. And generally how the game worked is, at the very start of the game, the monster starts in stage 1. And in this stage, it is at its weakest. Basically, the hunters hold all the power when the monster is in stage 1. So early game, the hunters are trying to find and kill the monster quickly. As the monster eats the wildlife, it will eventually hit stage 2. In stage 2, the power is pretty neutral. It's pretty equal on both sides. But if the monster hits stage 3, that's when the power shifts and the monster becomes the more powerful role. Now, for the rest of this video, I want to talk about what I think Evolve did really well on, and what I think it was ahead of its time with. And later on in the video, I want to talk about why I believe the game failed in the way that it did. Now, one more key thing about the general gameplay loop of Evolve, before I move into what I think the game did good, the Trapper came with one unique ability that was very critical to the game's success, and it was the Dome ability. Basically, if the monster was in range of the dome, the Trapper could throw it out, and it would encase both the hunters and the monster into an arena fight for a certain period of time. After that time runs out and the dome comes down, the dome goes on cooldown, allowing both teams some time to regenerate and recuperate until the next engagement. Now, there are some smaller things that I failed to mention, such as how the perk system works, how HP pools work on both sides, elite wildlife, etc, etc. But in broad strokes, I've given you guys how the game generally plays out. Now I want to talk about what I think the game did good. Now, this game came out in 2015, and for coming out that long ago, the game holds up really well graphically. The maps and the environments don't look that dated. They still look really nice to look at and to run around and explore in. Each map feels and plays differently from one another. They're all really unique and they all look really good still. On top of that, all the wildlife in the game looks really good as well. They all look really well designed. Now, speaking of designs, both the monster and the hunter characters have really cool designs. I mean, seriously, they struck gold with these designs. Like, for each stage that the monsters evolve, they visually change as well. Like, for example, in stage 1, Goliath lacks any sort of spikes or anything on his body, but in stage 3, he has these massive and really emphasized spikes, and it really gives you the sense that you're growing not only with your abilities, but like just visually. What's even cooler is that once monsters fall below a certain HP threshold, they have like noticeable wounds on their bodies, and they even have like different limping animations as well. On top of that, they also make different noises depending on how hurt they are. Keeping in mind, this game came out early 2015. Now, while the monster designs were definitely the highlight in the design department for this game, the hunter designs are fantastic as well. All the hunters looked really cool and really unique from one another. You could get a pretty good gauge also on their backstories and personalities based on just how they looked. You can tell the devs put a lot of thought and a lot of attention to detail into the designs of the characters. Now, speaking of the hunters, another thing that they did really good in that department were the hunter-hunter interactions. Basically, in the 30 seconds before the hunters drop into the match, the hunters have little conversations with one another, and it was through these conversations that we not only learned about the different hunters' backstories and characters, but it was through these conversations that the devs basically showed us what the world of Evolve looked like. They built up the universe through these conversations, and it was really well done. It's pretty similar to how Overwatch does it, but it did it a whole year before Overwatch came out.
Thanks for letting me on the team.
Nope, you got it backwards. Thanks for signing up.
You're thanking me?
I've never met a Basilisk soldier before, but I know the price on your head. You trusting my team with that, signing up to fight monsters for some colonists you don't know? That deserves my thanks.
I don't exactly trust your team. I trust you, Parnell.
That's as good a place to start as any. It might help if I understood what Kala did.
She took a formula. Listen, no one really understands why the Patterson field equations work. There's a lot of cargo cult thinking there, common wisdom that might be all crap. That woman cracked the monster DNA problem by using the Patterson field equations. That's like, I'm having a real hard time trying to explain this.
Use small words.
Imagine you're trying to balance your checkbook and the numbers don't work. And on a hunch, you just plug pi in there, a completely unrelated constant from an unrelated field, and it works. There's no reason it should work. It's insane to expect it to work.
But it did.
Yes, don't ask me what that means because I have no idea.
Sonny, you gotta tell me. What happened on Solaris? How'd you make it out of there?
Okay, so I was in the engine room and I saw this red light go on and I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen this ship before. I had no idea what half the readouts were telling me. But I knew just by where it was. I had this feeling, that is a bad light. So I jumped in a stasis pod, the lights went out. Next thing I knew, it was 6 months later. Some salvage guys found me. They were super nice.
Yeah, I'd be in a good mood too if I were salvaging a few million keys with a hub frigate.
Hey, some people are just nice, you know?
I'm not that nice.
Hello, Master!
Emmett, you don't have to call me Master. We're friends. Call me Jack.
Yay! We're friends! I will call you Jack Master.
Okay, do not call me that. Just Jack.
Just Jack.
All right, you got it, right?
I got it.
Okay, what's my name?
Just Jack.
Well, this is what it's like for normal people talking to me.
I like running with you, Maggie. Everyone else on the team talks about the future or the past. Not you. All you care about is the op, the mission, the next hunt.
And that's a good thing?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I need.
Not much future for folks who spend their whole lives running. Running away from something, running towards something. Gotta be something else.
What?
I don't know. I just know I don't want to be the last survivor of Factor my whole life.
Now, to be fair, Left 4 Dead 2 did already do these conversations before Evolve, so I can't exactly credit all of it to Evolve. That being said, these conversations were fantastic and really helped with the world building of the game. Now, finally, I mentioned earlier that the Trapper had a dome ability, and it was through this ability that the monster and the hunter were forced to fight in an arena format. And it is my opinion that these arena fights were some of the best PvP moments I've had in any game ever. Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of downtime in between each of these fights, and I'll get into that later, but these fights were just so enjoyable. When everything was working as intended, when the hunters were all communicating and cooperating with each other, and the monster was trying its hardest to win, that was when this game shined. That was when this game showed its brilliance in these fights. These were fast-paced, adrenaline-filled fights that left plenty of room for each hunter player to pop off and do an epic play, and left plenty of room for the monster player to just be an absolute beast and just feel like a boss. Now it's time to discuss what the game did not so good, and the main reasons why it failed. Now, for starters, this is sort of the main thing that everyone points to for the reason why the game died, and it's the monetization system. I'll be the first to admit Evolve was ahead of its time in many departments, but the one department where they probably shouldn't have been ahead of their time in was the monetization department, and they were unfortunately very ahead of their time in that department. I think it can all be pretty much summed up pretty well in this one Angry Joe clip.
What is this shit? What do we get? What is this? Is that blue? Is that fucking blue? This is fucking blue. You're giving me a gun that's painted blue and you want to charge me $2.
But in my opinion, I feel like gamers would have been able to look past these monetization issues if the gameplay was peak. If the gameplay was peak gaming. Now, in my opinion, peak Evolve gameplay was peak gaming. But not every single round of Evolve was peak Evolve. In fact, a single match of peak Evolve was pretty rare. The main issue with Evolve is that it's a game of teamwork, it's a game of communication, it's a game of strategy. If there wasn't any communication, the game would devolve into the hunters chasing a monster around the map in a loop, going on a running simulator for 20 minutes until the monster hits stage 3 and kills them all without breaking a sweat. Not exactly the next-gen experience that was promised. A part of me thinks that this issue mostly came from the fact that when playtesters played the game, they never played off of comms. I feel like when they were playtesting Evolve, devs always had comms with each other when playing as hunters, which would kind of skew their idea of how the game even works. On top of that, it didn't help that the game was horribly unbalanced on launch, with the Wraith being stupidly overpowered. And I'm sure that led a lot of players to leave the game, making the game plummet in its player base. And it didn't help that 2K only allowed the devs to update and patch their game once every 3 months, which is just ridiculous in the era of live service games. Apparently they literally had fixes and patches for bugs that the players were experiencing on their internal branches, but they just couldn't update the game because they just weren't allowed to. I feel like if it released now in 2024, people would be a lot more open to it and would be a lot more open to its slow nature. Ever since Battle Royales became hugely popular, people have kind of become used to shooters having some downtime between fights in PUBG and Fortnite, and even some newer shooters like Hunt Showdown and Escape from Tarkov that have these moments of silence in between big fights. And that was sort of what Evolve was. There was these moments of silence where the hunters are trying to track down the monster until the big dome fight happens. I feel like people would have been a lot more open to that idea now. It does make me sad to see the way my GOAT game went out. I hope that eventually 2K will do something interesting with the IP of Evolve, especially since they built up a pretty awesome world for the game, and it's clear that the devs for the game were really passionate about it, and it sucks that it went out in the way that it did. But that's all I pretty much got to say about the subject. Until next time, stay tuned. More Minecraft modded videos on the way. Water Potato, I'm talking to you, Water Potato. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye!